It's a TwoSun Tuesday throwback. This is a fairly old model. They still come out with them from time to time. This is the TS38, right? Yes, TS38. This is the budget model here. You can see it's fairly old. It's got the Mehcarta, or the kind of burlappy kind of stuff that they've done in the past there. This one in particular, they tried to dye green instead of just letting it remain brown. Ended up making it look a little bit more baby sick green than was necessary, but I don't know. That's a little bit subjective. This has their old stamped clip on it, and it is absolutely exacerbated. This thing is god awful to hold on to. This thing sticks up way too far. Just really pointy overall, and it digs right into the palm of your hand, or the not the palm, but on several different knuckle locations. There we go. So yeah, this pocket clip, absolute terribleness going on here. But we do have a whole bunch of lock bar access going on here. Of course, it's a American style Tonto, but we do have just a little bit of drop before we get there. This one, of course, is in D2 steel, and yep, it's a NightMorning design, and you can definitely tell this is an early one because it's written out in script rather than using his logo that we end up seeing on much more recent knives. This one, however, is the upscale version of it. This is the one in M390, and the handle scales are titanium. They are black coated, as is. They haven't done quite a whole bunch of them, but they do a decent amount from time to time. And this one doesn't really have that much of the way of lock bar access, or at least a cutout for it, but fairly deep scallops, and because these blade stocks are quite thick, that being 3.9 millimeters, not quite 4, but a little bit thicker than most, then yeah, there you go with that. Vast difference in the thickness of the handle scales going on here. We got 0.45, super nice and slim, slimmer than most Spyderco knives out there. And then we have this one, which is 0.64 of an inch. It does have a bit more contouring going on with it, which could be kind of nice, but man, that pocket clip is just awful. Sorry, I forget about it until I actually get it back in my hand again here. But yeah, same geometry that we got going on here. This doesn't have a thicker tip out here, just a different compound grind for the way that they ended up doing that. That way, when you're sharpening this thing, you don't really have to worry about vastly changing the different angles between the two facets there. This is, 15 on both sides here, and then this is 17 here, just due to the steels and what I think they end up taking decently there. Whereas if they did have a reinforced tip, like some of the more recent Tontos from them, from like Raihi and some from Jelly Jerry and stuff like that, I do have to change it up quite a bit. If I do like a 17 on the flat, I got to do about a 23 degree angle to keep that shoulder roughly the same between the two. So yeah, it's something to keep in mind, I suppose, if you're sharpening some of the newer ones. But like I said, it doesn't affect these ones, so a little bit easier to sharpen overall. This guy, I really, really enjoy though. As I said, it's much thinner, and then of course it has the channels on the inside there to make it just a little bit thinner. No inside additional weight relieving or anything, but we do have an internal lock bar relief on there, so that's cool. And also hidden pocket clip screws, since it's screwed in from the inside there. So a lot of really interesting things going on there. We don't have a call-out pivot collar. We just got the old school one that if you're lucky enough to have one of those little fiddly-doos here, then you can have just a little bit easier time opening it up if you do end up having some pivot rotation that adding a little bit of extra pressure by kind of squeezing in on the blade doesn't help you out with. But yeah, this thing is pretty darn cool. We can see the plunge grind here does end before the blade. It's fairly close to it, but I didn't really have any troubles sharpening this up with any of the methods that I did, creating a smile on the blades there. I did avoid the tip on it on this one in particular. That was mostly just me not doing a good job, so that's all on me, not necessarily the company there during my reprofiling phase. But there we go. Got some nice jimping right where you would want that for some of that stuff. And yeah, just a nice smooth angle back there that really nestles in the palm in case you do need to put some excessive force into whatever you're trying to cut. But yeah, it's really quite amazing how much of a difference between the premium and the later designed budget model really differed in this particular case. For me, I would mostly want to call it just a different model number altogether. There is so many little things about this particular budget knife that's pretty darn awful, and it was definitely the first one that I had. And then I decided to kind of take a chance on this guy when I found a decent price on one. And yeah, I'm much more impressed with, well, for one, its performance, because it's got a little bit better blade steel in there, and just much better in the ergonomics. It has more of a design language with a little bit more of this future kind of stuff with these interesting channels in there, all that sort of good stuff. Both of them have the same blade geometry, like I said, which is a little bit on the thicker side, but these are a little bit more hard use design kind of things. So no problems going on there. And at least the action is fairly nice on them. This one has a, yeah, it does have a detent ramp that breaks right around there, which is after the thumb stud or the flipper tab is out of the way there. This one, yeah, basically about the same there, breaks around there. But this one has just a little bit better action. Both of them, of course, fairly thick blades up top there, so there's a lot of power going into creating the drop shutty nature that they have. But man, I can't really think of a huge amount else I'd really want to cover here. The lock bar or the spacer on the back side here does stick out proud, which they did kind of bring that over on the this guy here, but it's in G10, of course. Makes a lot more sense for a budget model going on. I think I missed some statistics earlier, so yeah, I suppose we should probably go through all of those. Blade lengths between that kind of point there and, of course, the end of the tonto, 3.26 inches, or 82.3 millimeters, and that's identical between the both of them. The weight on them is surprisingly very close. The titanium one is 4.55 ounces, or 129 grams. And the Micarta one is 4.59 ounces, or 130 grams. So about 1 gram difference between the two of them. I did mention the thickness difference between those fairly early on. So, yeah, I guess that was basically what I had missed here. But, alrighty, so how about if we go ahead and do some blade size comparisons here. Start out with Spyderco PM2, sure. And yeah, there we go. fairly long in the handle, as is kind of known from this particular design here. Decently ergonomic, but yeah, it is going to be a little bit on the blade to handle ratio on the lower end of the spectrum. Yeah, the Manix 2XL, much larger knife. No surprises there. We got here's the Benchmade bug out, nice and compact. And here we go. We got the Benchmade 940. And I suppose this one is a little bit on the smaller side, at least compared to a lot of other knives that I end up having. So sure, I'll pull out the K-Bar Dozier Folding Hunter. And yeah, that's definitely much smaller. But hey, there you go. So, alrighty. That concludes basically everything I wanted to cover here. These things are a little bit more simpler than the newer models that are coming out, and I'm definitely glad they got rid of these stamp clips, because especially on this knife, more than others, it is literally the Antichrist. It completely ruined this blade. It is a little bit better if you just straight up take it off and treat it that way, but then it's really inconvenient to try to carry it anywhere. So. Alrighty, so for those of y'all who stuck around for the standard review, appreciate y'all. We are going to go ahead and take these things apart. Should be relatively quick to do so here. Let's start with the titanium one. We got a single screw here that ends up being a Chicago screw over on the other side. And then we got the pivot screw here, which I had some Loctite in there. So that took a little bit more effort than would otherwise be needed. There we go. Let's move that stupid pivot out of the way since it was stuck on that lock bar side. And yeah, like I said, nothing really going on the inside here. However, we do have that nice internal lock bar relief. Always love to see that. The ceramic detent ball is actually quite high up on there, which is interesting. A little bit different. But otherwise, here we go. This one with its stop pen thing does actually have a little bit of a recess around both sides there, which is a little bit different than what they do on much more recent models. But yeah, there we go. And this one does have a D-shaped sort of thing here. This one was kind of their transition where they didn't put it all the way through, but that also means that you wouldn't be able to put this through backward or in a different orientation, which is fine by me. But still, I do like the more modern solution that they end up having to this, where that D shape is all the way through on that pivot collar there, and it's on the show side there. This one, interesting how it has some kind of a burn kind of looks going on with the bearing race. Not sure exactly what ended up happening there, but still, as you saw, this thing is still smooth as butter. So that's why I hadn't really bothered to try to replace it or something like that. God knows I have a whole bunch of models that use those, so I could swap that out if I wanted. But yeah, let's go ahead and slap it back together real quick. It doesn't feel quite tight enough. I don't know, did I do something super stupid in here? Suppose I'll take you on through this. There's certainly something I must have ended up missing there. Nope. Everything seems to be exactly what I wanted. Interesting. Well, let's try and slap it back together again, huh? Make sure that the pivot was all the way through, which it certainly looks like it is. Yeah, it's much better. All right. And sure, we got this last screw here. Might as well throw that in there so I don't get it mixed up. Alrighty, so we got this one. I think maybe I'm wrong on this one. I'm probably wrong, but I'm going to go ahead and remove the pocket clip on it. Yeah, just checking to make sure there wasn't a hidden screw for that underneath there. I won't have you suffer along with me for putting this back together afterwards, but there we go. We do have a little bit of skeletonization going on this one. Some fairly large pockets that probably helped get that that weight just 1 gram over what we have here on this one. But otherwise, there we go. This one has a fully ground D-shaped pivot. Like I said, it was made just a little bit later on, but still has the D-shaped pivot on the lock bar side. As did this one. It's a little bit older design. That their newer ones have that D-shaped pivot on the show side. Just makes things a little bit easier to put back together. And yeah, the stop pin on this one doesn't really have those chamfers. It just fits into the steel liners. But there you go. There's the TS38. Like I said, you're probably not super interested in seeing me throw this thing back together, so I'll leave it at that. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day. Subscribe, please.